If you've ever wondered what the heck you actually said at the end of that party,
or wanted a do-over button for those cringe-worthy encounters,
then you've experienced what we call the joy of awkwardness.
I'm Mendy.
And I'm Bree.
And we're here to celebrate the awkward.
Embrace the awkward.
And remind you of one important thing.
You may be awkward,
but you're definitely not alone.
Well, that was awkward. Hi, Mendy.
Hi, Bree.
It's good to have you back here again today.
It's so nice to be back here.
Did you come with some good awkward stories from the week?
So many, but my main one, which keeps recurring, is that now it's fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's autumn. The leaves are out. It's finally not too hot to hike. So that activity where you go walk in the woods and connect with nature and look at the leaves, I don't like it. No, I do. I love being out there with my true love. It's about being with him. But then I'm like, what am I supposed to get from this? I think it's just because I'm in a busy place artistically. There's a lot of things going on. So my brain is always chugging along. The little Smurf on a treadmill that runs my psyche is running really, really, really hard. So it probably means I do need to be in the woods more and checking out. But it's been really hard for me to check out. I'm like, I have so much to do.
So forest bathing is not having the intended effect.
Yes. Like I need to embrace the fall turning in. I think that's going to be a goal I set for myself. I've been hanging all the way out in a wild and wonderful way. And now I need to turn in a little bit and notice that the leaves are magical.
It's tricky to do that, though, when the seasons are changing, because for both of us, wintry months are a little challenging.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people. I don't think we're alone. Sometimes it feels like that if you can keep the momentum of summer going, that it will delay the onset of the winter blues.
Yeah, I wonder if that's, thank you, Bree, the therapist. That's probably what's going on. I'm resisting it because I've kept my sunshine going. Been much more creative this fall with work starting up. Still like keeping my creative juju alive and thriving. So yeah, it's probably a resistance. I see the leaves changing color as a threat.
I understand that. I think autumn is awkward. I think autumn, in some ways, is the most awkward month.
The autumn is an awkward month.
It's Virginia. We only get 1 month of autumn.
Bree, do you have an awkward story?
I do have an awkward story, but you just made me think of a different kind of awkward story. We were talking yesterday about how unseasonably warm it has been this autumn.
Yeah.
And how we feel really bad about liking how unseasonably warm it's been this autumn because we have environmental guilt about that. So that's awkward. But also, I am going to have a vulnerability hangover after saying this because what I'm about to say is really wrong. We were trying to figure out what to call an unseasonably warm autumn because we used to be able to call it a something summer, like a Native American summer. But you can't say that. It's wrong to say that.
It's their word. We have words from other languages that we say. So, okay, I'm not going to order spaghetti anymore. I'm going to order long, skinny noodles and give you the exact diameter of that noodle so you don't confuse it with the other noodles that I can't talk about.
But Mendy, it's the word is not Native American summer. The word is summer.
Yeah, that's bad. Sorry, I thought you meant like it was a Native American word. No, that's bad. That's bad. Take back. Reverse. Okay.
So what do we call it? Like gorgeous fall? No. Hot autumn? No. We don't know what to call it. So, listener, if you have a great alternate name for an unseasonably warm autumn
that isn't the harbinger of all of our demise on planet Earth.
Right. Something that's optimistic. So it can't induce guilt because of taking advantage of climate change. It just has to be a positive.
A celebration of Mendy still getting to wear her sandals.
And a celebration of getting a little more vitamin D on those walks out in the woods when you go. And that's sort of an awkward situation born out of your awkward situation. Are we going to have to skip that? Are we canceled by saying that?
We kind of need to be scheduled before we're canceled.
We're never going to get on the schedule now.
But speaking of the seasons changing, this story has a seasonal element to it. Today's story comes from Sammy. And Sammy had a pretty cool, waspy, upper middle class upbringing. He's got the mom, the dad, the 3 siblings, and he and his sibs are all about a year or so apart, so they're pretty close. But he's got the whole nuclear situation, and they live in a sweet little town, rural area on the East Coast.
Okay.
And Sammy is the oldest kid in this picture-perfect little American family.
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure.
But he's handling it. He's the first to go to college. And during his freshman year, Mom and Dad decide to renew their vows at Disney World.
Oh, God.
So perfect. Bree, do you know any Disney adults?
I do know some Disney adults, but I gotta pause for a minute because what I'm really thinking about is the whole renewing the vows thing. Did I ever tell you about my stance on that?
No.
You know, Jeff and I had a beautiful wedding.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Well, you don't really remember because...
Well, I mean, I saw the pictures and I walked on the beach that it was on.
You did. But you were in high school when we got married and we didn't know each other yet.
Oh, that's so weird.
I was a child bride. Anyway, we had this beautiful wedding, but it was a lot of pressure. I wasn't really into the wedding thing. I like the dress. I like a party. I like seeing people. But it just felt like I was playing a role the whole time.
Right.
You know? So after we got married, we were getting onto the airplane to go on our honeymoon straight from the wedding. And I turned to Jeff and I said, I love you so much, but if you ever ask me to renew our vows, I will divorce you on the spot.
What was it? Was it the pressure and all the to-do? What is it about renewing? Because I see why people do it. Like, if you love a big party, have a big party, or you're celebrating your love.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to shame anybody who's into renewing their vows. That's their thing. For me, the wedding didn't feel like it was for us. The wedding felt like it was for the other people in our lives. You can totally pick on me about what I'm about to say. I'm just going to give you that.
Oh, boy.
I feel like every day is an opportunity to meet our vows, to live up to our vows, to live by our vows. And so renewing them feels redundant because every day, in a sense, is renewing the vows.
This is true, and I hope that you put a really schmaltzy song under what you just said. Yeah, for me, I'm like, why are you renewing your vows? Like, it's a vow. It's not a car. They should last very long. It's a little thirsty.
Is it kind of like getting a new transmission for your marriage?
Like, you shouldn't need that reminder of what you're there to do years later. But for the folks who do it for the party, those who love the party stress and the planning and can afford to do a party like that, I totally get it.
So anyway, that's my feeling about renewing vows. So red flags are coming up for me already about this.
Well, and it was at Disney World. So Bree, again, I ask you, do you know any Disney adults, people who are into Disney, but they are grown?
I do.
Me too.
Well, what do your Disney people love about Disney?
I don't know what they like about Disney itself. I mean, I like the movies from my era, like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin and The Lion King. I had those on VHS and watched them over and over and over. But when I think of Disney World, I think of like Mickey and Minnie and like the Steamboat Willie cartoon and like ducks that are kind of drawn to look a little bit racist. I may be inventing all this, but that's what old school Disney
feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe it was the cartoons from their childhood. Like if we had a She-Ra Land and a My Little Pony Land and a Strawberry Shortcake Land, I totally get it. I would be there. But these people, I know one of my friends goes because of the drinking. They go with girlfriends and they just drink throughout the park. And another friend went with his parents for his birthday because he'd never been, which is very sweet. And he's really into Star Wars. So he went for the Star Wars stuff. And I forget they've got that updated stuff.
If they had Tomb Raider, I'd be all in.
Oh my God, Tomb Raider Land. We could finally get her outfits. But my thing about Disney drinking, like, theme parks and alcohol, roller coasters and alcohol, tilt-a-whirls and teacups with tequila? Oh my gosh, I do not get that. Now, weed in a theme park, I've done. That was super great. So I could totally do weed or mushrooms.
Yeah, microdose.
Bree, let's microdose at Disney World. Like seeing a gnome when you're a little bit sparkly would be so cool. Or dwarf. What are they called? Dwarfs.
Dwarfs.
I want to see a dwarf when I'm stoned.
I want to see 7 of them. All right, so they go to Disney World to renew their vows when Sammy's our protagonist, when Sammy is in college.
Yes.
How does that go?
Well, fine. But soon thereafter, he's back at school and he gets a phone call. Apparently the magic has worn off because mom and dad are getting a divorce.
See? This is why you don't renew your vows.
At Disney World. So you and I got that news as kids. I think at ages that we were too young to even know what the heck was going on. But I wonder if as an adult who just went to college, if you're like, well, yay, it's not my fault. But also like, wait a minute, I leave and then wait, like I was the duct tape holding that whole shit show together the whole time? What the heck?
No, I totally see that because I have enough first daughter tendencies to feel like if things fall apart when I'm not there, it's probably because I wasn't there to hold it together. I think I would think it was more my fault than if I had learned that as a young child.
Right.
Did Sammy see it coming?
He kind of saw it coming. Like that trip to Disney World, which now in hindsight does feel like some kind of frenzied fever dream where dad was playing a reluctant secondary character and was pulled unwillingly into the spotlight. And personally, I kind of want to think that if your wedding photos have effing Donald Duck's doofy ass up in them, like, watch out. You know, I've had 2 shitty trips to Disney World. There's the one I talked about on the show. When I was a kid with the suppository.
Tell that story again one more time.
The first time I went to Disney World as a child, I guess I was farting too much, and my grandma made me do a suppository. So that was a super fun day at Disney World.
That made the bumpy rides especially thrilling.
And then the second time, which I don't want to talk about for too long, my ex-husband and I took our kids when we were in the middle of separating and kind of not knowing what was happening. And it was so incredibly awkward. I think it was giving the kids one last blast of family, and he had a job nearby around Orlando, but it was weird.
Yeah.
So Sammy did say that it was nice to not be at home while it was going on, that it was nice to have some distance. But Sammy is also thinking about those 3 younger siblings who are still at home.
Yeah.
And he said that his mom was one of those moms that made the kids her entire life, her entire reason for being. So he did wonder if now that he was on the college life path and seemingly on the track to be successful in all arenas, as a bachelor in the arts used to do, you know, if now that mom couldn't micromanage his life anymore, maybe she'd lost her way and kind of started being a handful on the home front. Like now that he was squared away and far away, she'd been rooting around in everyone else's business and getting on their nerves, including dad's.
It's a hard time, that transition to, you know, I don't call it empty nest. I call it free bird.
Right.
Because
Right, I like that.
Yeah, because it is an opportunity to sort of step into the next phase. But, you know, transitions are always awkward. You're trying to figure out who you are and what your identity is in a new context. And I think it can be super, super hard for moms. So I'm identifying with Sammy's mom here. And also the coach in me is like, come on.
Yes.
Get it together.
Yes, exactly. And dad eventually remarries a lovely woman. Now, Sammy's family had lived in the rural outskirts of a big southern city, but new wife was from that nearby city, so dad moves there.
To the city.
To the city.
Okay.
Right? This new wife, we'll call her Bonnie, is from a very wealthy and well-to-do old southern family.
We know those.
Oh, yeah. We've gotten some good stories.
We get a lot of those on this podcast.
Bonnie had 4 kids of her own, and they were all younger than the youngest kid in Sammy's OG family. Got it?
Family number 2, V2.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way a little bit. Like Dad just bopped off to a fresh new start, traded in the old models for newer ones. But Bonnie is a kind stepmom. She's a wealthy Southern belle, sweet as pie, a good mom to her kids. She was raised wealthy, though, so she's oblivious to anything going on in the world that doesn't affect her personally.
Right. She's in the bubble, and she doesn't quite realize that she's in the bubble.
Yeah.
How does Mom take this?
Not super great.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, she was really set adrift without the kids around. Like, she was always wanting grandchildren. Like, when her kids were in high school, she wanted grandchildren. Maternal mania. And Sammy said she was a great mom to kids, but she had a really hard time letting them grow up. Like, one year, pre-divorce, Sammy's a junior in high school. Mom and Dad take Sammy and his next oldest sibling out to Outback Steakhouse for a big talk. They're like, oh my gosh, what the F are they going to say? The apps arrive.
Ooh, bloomin' onion.
Yep. Sammy reaches out for a juicy, crispy hunk, but Mom stops him. She puts her hand on his, and she starts tearing up. Your father and I have something to tell you. Santa Claus isn't real. And she starts weeping. And they're like, oh, no shit, Sherlock. But she really, really thought that she was breaking a magic spell for them.
This explains a lot about why she wanted to go to Disney World to renew those vows.
It all fits.
Yeah.
Man, I remember my oldest son coming in and giving me the talk and saying, Mom, I just want to let you know I don't believe in Santa anymore. I was overjoyed. I mean, I loved the magic when they were little. I made sure the paper was different paper than the paper that we had, and it looked like something you could get at the North Pole. It was much more classic, no cartoon characters on it. I would have little sooty footprints throughout the house, all kinds of cool stuff. But as soon as he stopped believing, I could say, yes, Playmobiles and Legos are very expensive. Let's talk about budgets and expectations. So Mom lost that whole magical kingdom she was living in when Dad left her.
Prince Charming flew the roost.
That's right. And Sammy said that she moved to one of those neighborhoods with little houses that are all inhabited by divorced women. I didn't know that was a thing. Yeah, you could just drop off the vibrator on the porch. I live right at the corner of Bitterness Lane and Cigarette Drive. And Mom did that thing, Bree, that is so easy and so wrong to do. She bitched and moaned to the kids about how unfair it was. She got really self-righteous. She put those kids in the middle.
She did it wrong.
Yeah, and Sammy said that he had the feeling when all the OG sibs were at Mom's place that for a while they just reminded her of what she'd had and what she'd lost. And after a glass or two of Chardonnay, well, she was going through her own shit. She was learning who she was again.
I feel badly for her, but also that's super hard on the kids.
Oh, yeah. Once
Really
you have
hard.
kids, you have to think about the kids first.
You do.
So, Bree, here we are. We're an adult child of divorce. What is the most awkward time to be a child of divorce? I don't mean the age.
So I have to preface this by saying that I have a unique situation. I feel like it's a unique situation. My parents got divorced when I was very young. They're reciprocal godparents of each other's kids. It is as amicable as it could possibly get. It is so loving and wonderful. Even so, holidays are awkward because somebody always feels left out.
Right, because you're going to all the different houses.
Yeah.
Right? And my family's got along really well, too, when I was a kid, but still, like the travel and then deciding where you're going to go for this. And even though everyone says they're cool with whatever you decide, you still carry some guilt.
Of course, because somebody always feels like they get the short end of the stick.
Yeah. And in my own divorce, because I'm a divorcee, I live right at the corner of Cigarette Lane. No, I don't.
She lives on Reefer Road.
So my kids always go to their grandma's on their dad's side, and I never blame them. Like, honestly, she throws a heck of a party, right? And I'm from this little broken family. I do my best with the holidays, but I don't bake a bunch of shit. I'm not into white sugar. I put up some decor, but it's more solstice-y.
Yeah.
So I never blame them. But for the first couple of years when I was alone, it was really sad because I just you're alone on Christmas. That's part of why I don't like it, is that pressure. You're happy and everything's perfect. GD it, you know? So looking around at the toys they just opened and left and all their little crumbs and their little socks made me really sad and really drink wine. And then I met Martin, that's my ex-partner, and the kids were older and we were like, oh, whoa, we get dibs on all the video games. So we were like, love you kids. Oh my God, have fun at the best Christmas party ever. And we'd play video games, order Chinese food, and still drink the wine. So we made it.
Needed somebody to do it with.
Exactly. It's that being alone on Christmas.
So how did Sammy and his sibs feel about it?
It's weird. Holidays are weird. Even when they're older. He said there was one time where all the relatives, the step ones and the original ones, lived all in the same geographic area.
Oh, so they had to make the rounds.
Yeah, not fun. But he said they drove in an actual pentagram trying to make everyone happy.
Going from point to point?
Yes.
Anti-Christmas.
Yeah, and like kind of a sign, but also literally a sign. But what made the holidays super awkward was the gift-giving part. See, Bonnie's super wealthy parents, Grandma and Grandpa Fancy, always hosted a big family gathering with their 4 blood grandchildren, Bonnie's babies, and Sammy and the stepsibs.
And so we have the 2 bands, right? We have Bonnie's blood babies.
Bonnie's blood babies.
And Sammy and the stepkids.
Sammy and the stepkids. Remember, they're Sammy's
Yes, there's
actual
Sammy
brothers
is
and
a
sisters.
stepkid, too.
Yeah. And Sammy's crew started noticing that there was a big disparity between the gifts that Bonnie's blood babies received and what the step-grandkids would get. At first, they were like, well, the blood-born are younger, and we're adults now. You know, it's just nice to be included. But the years go on, and this disparity continued when Bonnie's blood babies got older. In fact, it started getting even more pronounced with each year. Grandma and Grandpa Fancy would take Sammy's step-sibling shopping, and they'd be like, oh, I want that diamond tennis bracelet. Ooh, sapphires are my birthstone. And on Christmas morning, they all had to open their gifts one by one, which Sammy says is awkward in and of itself because everyone is staring at you, watching you put on a display of gratitude. Bree, how do y'all open presents?
We open it one by one, but it's really just to make it last longer.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Just to drag out the time before the Chinese food.
And also we try to make it so that everybody has close to the same number of gifts, if not the same number of gifts, so that you have similar amounts to open.
Yes, exactly. And as Sammy put so well, he addressed this and he declares that the one-at-a-time present delivery method relies on a foundation of equity between the presents.
That's right.
Because everyone is watching.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not happening at the fancy mansion. Every year, they go around. Bonnie's blood babies go first. Bonnie's blood babies take turns opening their presents one by one. A Cartier watch, a Burberry coat, a flippin' pony.
All right. Is this where it's awkward already? Because I think that getting an expensive gift like that is awkward.
Oh, I know, right?
Do you know how many people could be fed with that gift?
So they do this. Then Grandma and Grandpa Fancy turn to Sammy and the step-sibs at the end and say, so very cheerfully, okay, now you 4 open your gifts all at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Here they go. They each get the same set of...
Bose headphones?
Oh, no.
Prada handbags?
No.
Oh, crystal-encrusted Balenciaga gowns.
I like that you use the word encrusted with crystals, but no. The same set of plastic tumblers.
What?
Every year, it's like this. Yes, they're grateful. But good God, this is so flippin' weird. And Sammy started to notice that their gifts always seemed to be swag from whatever company Grandpa Fancy had just dropped a huge investment in. Pizza scissors, a tub of weird flavored popcorn.
I mean, popcorn is kind of good.
It is good, but I mean, it should be various flavors of caviar. These gifts weren't even expensive. Those tumblers, Sammy and his hubs took them to Kohl's and got $8 for them on the trade-in. Now the blood babies have their own blood babies, and it continues with the grand blood babies. 1 year, the frickin' grand blood babies take turns opening their gifts, and each one of those little shits gets their own kid-sized, ride-on electronic Land Rover. Bree, those things are thousands of dollars a piece.
I can't even imagine it. I don't think my car cost thousands of dollars.
Right? Sammy and the Sibs have their turn, and they get avocado slicers. He said it was so awkward. Every year it continues. Them opening their shitty gifts at the end, everyone staring at them, looking at them to show how grateful they are, and they have to pretend everything's fine and gush over their Fruits to the Loom socks while the blood babies are shining their emerald cufflinks and snuggling their Chanel fur stoles. But this one particular year, Bree, it gets even worse. Well, better for the podcast, but worse. This 1 year, they've run the gauntlet of the morning gift giving. Sammy is done gushing over his brand new spatula when Grandma and Grandma Fancy make a surprise announcement. We have one more present for everybody.
Everybody?
Everybody! Oh my God! Sammy and the stepsibs look at each other. Finally, they're going to be included. It's like when people started jumping up and down and hugging each other on Oprah. Grandma Fancy says, the presents are in the attic. Let's all go up there. Oh my gosh, they're so excited. The whole family heads to the attic. Some people take the elevator. Sammy and the stepsibs take the stairs. Grandma and Grandpa Fancy slowly open the door to the attic. Everyone walks in, and there, shining beautifully and smelling like the hide of a unicorn, are complete sets of individually personalized, monogrammed Louis Vuitton luggage.
Whoa. For everybody.
Everyone screams excitedly. That's not all, Grandma Fancy says. We're paying for the whole family to go on a trip to Italy. Bree, you know what Italy is, right?
I do. It's Southern for Italy.
Thank you, just for our listeners who may not know. Squeals, jumping, hugging, tears. Sammy is so overjoyed he's about to belt out Pavarotti.
Ave Maria.
Yes, except Grandma says, and this present is for you kids. She hands the Sammy Sibs a box. They look at each other, perplexed, and kind of in slow motion, they, all at one time, start opening the box. All of them. One box, like, taking different corners of it. And inside is a dog.
A puppy?
No, it's not alive.
A dead dog?
No, a stuffed dog. Wearing a Santa hat. And when you squeeze his little tail, he barks his rendition of Jingle Bells. One of these for all four of them to share. And no, not one of those pieces of luggage had their initials on them.
Well, that was awkward.
Well, that was a bitch of a Christmas. Get it, the dog?
I get it. Everyone is staring at them with that expectant look of, say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what the flip is this? What is even happening right now? But hey, Sammy is a WASP, and he has a BFA in theater. So he's really good at hiding his feelings, just shoving them things all the way down in there. So They gush over their present and say thank you profusely.
What the flip did they do with that dog?
They kept the damn dog, and every Christmas, whichever Sammy original sibling has that damn dog, they gift it to a different sibling. Sammy says, as a reminder of the ongoing class system within our own family. The trip to Italy happened, and the beautifully bound photo book sits on a coffee table in the Fancy's family room.
I know this is hard to do, but did they ever try to bring it up with their dad or anything? Did they ever have a real discussion about it with their parents?
Well, they tried a little bit. Sammy says that post-pandemic, when, we all had to sort of stay at home and reflect, they did bring this up with their dad. And at first, he tried to justify it by saying, well, I had to pay my own airfare to Italy.
Oh, my God.
Like it was a hardship.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad has become more receptive over the years. He's starting to admit where his blind spots were. Now they can joke about it around Dad, but Dad doesn't join in. He doesn't discourage them. He just smiles and pivots. Sammy says it's like a WASP motto. We don't need to talk about this out loud, do we? The Sammy Sibs and Bonnie's blood babies get along as adults.
Well, that's good. Mm-hmm. The bubble people.
We can take the alliteration even further. Bonnie's blood bubble bourgeois babies. Great! And really good news, Sammy has finally found a healthy and loving family dynamic in the sweet little world of his husband's family. Hubs, the only child.
So does Sammy have any advice for those of us who find ourselves in similar situations?
Yes, he does. Sammy has a new coping and healing strategy to deal with this shit-ass family situation, which is still going on. He has started taking out his aggression on family game night.
Oh.
You know that game, Loaded Questions?
Is it kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but it's asking questions of your family?
Yeah, or whoever you're playing with. Like, some of them are quite uncomfortable.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
So they're playing Loaded Questions. And one year, the Fancies had just bought a yacht. And the loaded question was, what is one thing you'd never do for yourself? Sammy sips his wine and says, buy a fucking boat. Isn't that good? He says that in family dynamics, you can always find a passive-aggressive way to get yours, honey.
That's a good WASP.
That's a good theater major. Bree, how would you rate this?
Oh, Mendy, I would give this a 10.
Oh my, I would give it a 12 for the awkwardness and the 12 days of Christmas. What is 12? This is all the drummers drumming. This is all the ladies milking. This is all the lords
losing. It's all the lords losing.
All the lords are losing. Bree, what would you have done?
You know, we all have our different ways of acting out passive-aggressively. I am not immune to that, and I would probably lean into that tendency. But here's how I would do it. I would go out and I would buy Grandma something amazing and expensive. I would probably use my entire Christmas budget on getting something really extraordinarily wonderful for Grandma, because then she would feel like she messed up.
I love that. That is a queen bee move. The higher road, the beneficence, whatever it is, benevolence. And it keeps your soul and your spirit intact and your vibe high. I would never think to do something like that.
What would you do, Mendy?
Bree?
Yes?
You know how I have to defend people when they're being treated shittily. I am all over this. I have 4 distinct ways that I would deal with this, and they all involve Dana.
Ooh, unwrap these.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. First, collude with my siblings for revenge. We would find very convincing but inexpensive replicas of uber luxury items, right? We'd wrap them and address them to only the original siblings and me from Auntie Dana. We'd sneak them under the tree in the wee hours of the morning before, and the next morning, Christmas morning, we'd all open them at one time, like we're supposed to, after everyone else, just like we're supposed to, and just blast the Fancies with a full-on assault of better gifts that are all thoughtful, unique, and expensive looking. Boom! A Fabergé frickin' egg. Bam! Keys to a Lambo. Shazam! deed to a ski chalet. Bop, front row tickets to Taylor Swift. Shabloop, a first edition baseball card for some dead baseball man. And then we'd all yell, "Thank you, Auntie Dana." That's part one. But what would Dana herself do?
Mm-hmm.
So if Dana is Sammy,
Mm-hmm.
all those holidays where Bonnie's bourgeoisie blood bubble babies open presents one at a time, and then Sammy and Dana and her crew open their shit gifts all at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
that shit would have stopped after the first Christmas. Dana would make every single one of those fancy fart faces watch as she and her siblings, Danny, Dallas, and Darla, very slowly, one by one, made them sit through their gift unwrapping, at each step wondering out loud like, "Oh, wow, I hope I get as pretty a ruby as Hannah did. Uh-oh, do I spell Jean-Paul Gaultier purple up in this box?" And then finally, at the end, upon revealing the shit-ass gift that it is, marvel even harder. Holy shit! I needed a grill scrubber. This is life-altering. Hannah, let's do a selfie of me and my present and you and yours for my Instagram. And I'd train my younger sibs to do the same thing. Drag it out, make them watch, put them on social media.
Put them on blast.
Put them on blast. Number 2.
So this is another Dana.
This is another Dana
Okay,
move.
okay.
And Sammy, you can do all of these.
Sammy, we expect you to do all of these.
Yes.
Okay, what
Well,
next?
this one is going back to that moment in the attic. After they get the dog that barks jingle bells, Dana would be like, "Perfect, y'all. It barks that Pavarotti song about Italy that I love. Italy, Italy, thanks for paying my way. Can't wait to see my Louis Vuitton with the monogram D-A-N-A." Just refuse to see the truth. Again, make them suffer. Make them say it out loud. And 3, this is a small one. Sammy, Dana loves the passive-aggressive game night, but Dana prefers aggressive-aggressive. So, next game night, she's breaking out Twister and kicking nuts. Sammy, can Dana come with you to Christmas next year?
I love those.
Bree,
Yes.
listeners, remember, this is still happening.
This is an ongoing situation.
This is an ongoing situation, and I would love to hear what our listeners would do in this situation.
Oh, this is a Save Sammy situation.
Save Sammy's situation. I'm just interested. Would you go like all the way Dana kicking nuts, or would you go Bree high road, or is there something else we haven't thought of yet? So call us on our speak pipe. What's it called?
Speak pipe.
Call us on our speak pipe. Email us. Drop us a social media thing. You know how to find us.
If you have our phone numbers, you can also just text us. We can take that too.
Yeah.
The point is, we truly, truly, truly want to hear from you. I know that you're listening to this and you're like, yeah. No, we mean it. We really, really want to hear from you so that we can share your ideas with sweet Sammy. Hey, Mendy, this gave me an idea.
Uh-oh.
You know, my family loves to play games like Loaded Questions too.
Yeah.
But we've been thinking lately, what if we had a Well, That Was Awkward game? So we're making a Well, That Was Awkward game for people to play. And you can check the show notes for a way to play Well, That Was Awkward with your family this holiday season.
Yeah, you can make your holidays even more awkward, believe it or not.
And share them with us.
Bree, you know how I don't like holiday music?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I finally found one that really puts me in the mood.
Okay.
Sammy's dad walked out the door.
His new kids got gifts galore.
Sammy got some crap from the dollar store.
Well, that was awkward if your family ain't acting right.
Be a good wasp, don't start a fight.
Get your revenge on family game night.
Oh, I'm wrecking shop on Candyland.
Must be nice to always get double purples. That was awkward.
Awkward.
I don't want to play anymore.
And that's why you're never going to get out of the molasses swamp, Bree.
This has been an Awkward Sage production.